Most people believe battles are won when swords cross and armies collide, but the truth is far more unsettling. The moment a warrior steps onto the battlefield, the outcome is already decided. Victory begins long before any enemy appears, long before the first command is shouted or the first arrow darkens the sky. It begins in a place far quieter, far more dangerous, and far more decisive, the mind. Every great commander who ever carved his name into history understood this secret. While ordinary men prepare their weapons, extraordinary men prepare their thoughts. They don't wait for the chaos to unfold. They conquer it before it ever arrives. That is why, on the night when fear grips the hearts of thousands, a true strategist rests with the stillness of a man who has already seen tomorrow. Imagine a vast army trembling under the weight of what morning will bring. Campfires flicker, whispers of doubt circle through the ranks, and even seasoned generals pace the ground unable to sleep. They fear what they cannot predict. They dread what they cannot control. But there stands one man who closes his eyes with complete certainty, not because he underestimates the threat, but because he has already fought the entire battle in the quiet, ruthless theater of his mind. He has walked the terrain step by step, mapped every possibility, and faced every scenario long before daylight exposes the true scale of the conflict. While others imagine defeat, he imagines pathways to triumph. While others pray for survival, he rehearses supremacy. This mental rehearsal is not mere optimism. It is a weapon sharper than steel. It transforms uncertainty into clarity. It turns fear into fuel. By the time the sun rises, he is already living in the world where the battle has been won. That is why no number of enemies intimidates him. He has defeated them already, first as shadows in his mind, then as realities on the field. His warriors draw strength from his calmness, unaware that this calmness is not a gift, but a result of relentless internal warfare. He kills doubt by illuminating the unknown. He kills fear by understanding its source. And once fear is dead, victory begins to take shape. In this state of absolute mental dominance, strategy flows effortlessly. Decisions that would paralyze others come to him like instinct. Where lesser leaders struggle under pressure, he thrives because his mind has already experienced the danger, analyzed it, and neutralized it. What appears as confidence on the surface is actually the result of deep mental discipline and preparation. He does not rely on luck. He relies on the silent hours when he studies the unseen battlefield, when he challenges every assumption, when he forces himself to anticipate every consequence. The world may believe he possesses supernatural courage, but his real power lies in understanding that the battlefield is only the final test. The true war is fought, and won, long before a single blade leaves its sheath. And so, when armies finally collide and chaos erupts around him, he is not surprised. He is not shaken. He is simply executing a victory he has already lived in his mind again and again until it became inevitable. Fear is a powerful enemy, one that defeats more warriors before a battle than any opposing army ever could. But the difference between an ordinary commander and a legendary one lies in how they confront this invisible threat. While most men allow fear to grow in the shadows of uncertainty, a true strategist destroys it long before stepping onto the battlefield. He understands that fear does not come from the enemy's numbers, their weapons, or their strength. It comes from the unknown. And the unknown has only one weakness: preparation. The moment a leader replaces uncertainty with understanding, fear collapses like a crumbling wall. This is why he never waits for dawn to reveal what darkness hides. He seeks information relentlessly. Terrain, weather, temperament, formation, supply lines, everything that others overlook, he studies with the intensity of a man preparing to fight a ghost. As night falls and the camp whispers with anxiety, He is not among the restless or the doubtful. Instead, he is dissecting the enemy's mind, trying to understand not only what they will do, but why they will do it. He maps their habits, their tendencies, their blind spots. He searches for the flaw that every army carries, no matter how mighty it appears. Others see their adversary as an overwhelming force. He sees them as a puzzle waiting to be solved. For while fear feeds on exaggeration and imagination, preparation feeds on truth. And the truth is always less terrifying than the stories the mind creates in darkness. As he studies, something remarkable begins to happen. The enemy becomes predictable. Their formations become patterns. Their strategies become routines. Their strength reveals its weaknesses. And with each detail he uncovers, his fear fades further. For how can a man fear something he understands better than he understands himself? He does not underestimate his opponents. He simply removes their ability to surprise him. The more he learns, the less intimidating the enemy seems. Knowledge becomes his shield, clarity becomes his armor, and certainty becomes his greatest weapon. Meanwhile, those who neglect preparation fall victim to their own imagination. They picture disaster, defeat, or death because they lack concrete information to replace their fears. Their minds become battlefields long before the actual war even begins. But he refuses to let fear dictate the outcome. By studying every angle of the conflict, he strips fear of its power. He replaces panic with perspective, chaos with calculation, and paralysis with purpose. The feelings that consume lesser leaders, doubt, anxiety, hesitation, dissolve under the intense light of preparation. And when the time comes to face the enemy, he stands calm and composed, not because he is fearless, but because he has deprived fear of its foundation. He knows the terrain as if he carved it himself. He knows the enemy's movements as though he choreographed them. Nothing they do shocks him. Nothing they attempt catches him off guard. His mind has already walked through the battle dozens of times, identifying every threat, predicting every maneuver, and neutralizing every danger. The unknown, the birthplace of fear, no longer exists for him. And a man who steps into battle without fear is a man already halfway to victory. A sharp sword can cut down a man, but a sharp mind can command thousands and change the fate of nations. Calmness in the heart of chaos is not a natural gift. It is a weapon forged through discipline, precision, and relentless mental training. When warriors panic, they lose their strength. When leaders panic, armies collapse. But the strategist who enters a battlefield with complete inner stillness becomes more dangerous than any blade. His calm mind is not emptiness. It is calculation, clarity, and control wrapped in silence. The storm around him might rage, but within him there is no storm at all. That stillness confuses the enemy and empowers his own troops, for nothing is more terrifying than a commander who does not flinch when the world is falling apart. This calmness is not born on the day of the battle. It begins long before, in lonely hours where he wrestles with every fear, every doubt, every weakness. As others waste energy imagining disaster, he imagines solutions. As others fall asleep haunted by uncertainty, he closes his eyes with purpose, replaying strategies until they become instinct. By the time soldiers line up for war, his mind is already carved into clarity. He has walked through every possible outcome, not to scare himself, but to ensure he is never caught off guard. He welcomes pressure, because pressure is where clarity sharpens. The more dangerous the moment, the calmer he becomes. It is in chaos that his mind feels most alive. A calm mind is lethal because it sees what panic hides. When enemies change formation, he notices it instantly. When opportunities appear for only a second, he seizes them before anyone else even recognizes them. He hears the rhythm of the battlefield, the shift of horses, the hesitation in enemy lines, the moment when morale wavers. Others react too slowly because fear clouds their perception. But his thoughts remain sharp as a blade, slicing through the noise to reveal the truth beneath. He does not allow anger, fear, or pride to guide him. His decisions come from purity of focus, not from emotion. That is why his commands arrive with perfect timing, not too early, not too late, but at the exact moment when they will break the enemy's will. War favors the mind that can remain steady while everything around it trembles. Even the strongest soldiers look toward their leader before the first clash, searching for reassurance. And when they see the calmness in his eyes, they draw strength from it, believing victory is inevitable because their commander believes it too. That calmness becomes a form of warfare itself, a silent force that spreads through the ranks like fire through dry grass. It transforms fear into courage, hesitation into action, and uncertainty into trust. The enemy may strike with steel, but he strikes with stability, patience, and perfect awareness. When the battlefield erupts into chaos, shouting, dust, blood, fire, he moves as if he is navigating a world he already understands. His mind, trained through countless moments of deliberate mental rehearsal, responds not with confusion but with clarity. What seems like bravery is actually mastery of emotion. What appears like supernatural confidence is simple mental preparation elevated to the level of art. The calmness that surrounds him is not silence. It is dominance. It is the quiet certainty of a man who has already won the battle inside his mind, long before the first sword is drawn, long before armies charge, before banners rise, before steel meets steel. A far greater war is already raging, one that no one sees, no one hears, and no historian ever records. It is the war inside a leader's own mind. Every doubt, every hesitation, every fear becomes an enemy more dangerous than any army. The greatest commanders in history understood this silent truth. If you cannot conquer the battlefield within, you will never conquer the battlefield ahead. The soldiers may face the enemy once, but the commander faces him 1,000 times in thought. And each time he must win. For the moment, the mind fractures, the body follows, and no amount of strategy can save a spirit already defeated. The internal battle begins with fear, not the simple fear of death, but fear of failure, fear of responsibility, fear of the weight carried by every decision. These emotions attack far more fiercely than spears or arrows. Most men run from them, most leaders bury them, but the true strategist confronts them directly. He looks fear in the eyes and asks why it exists. He studies it, understands it, and breaks it down. By naming it, he strips it of power. By understanding it, he kills it. This process is harsh, almost brutal, but absolutely necessary. No commander who trembles inside ever stands firm outside. His calmness on the field comes from the scars he earned fighting the battles within his own soul. Then comes doubt, a quieter enemy but more dangerous. Doubt whispers when the world is silent. It questions every plan, every decision, every instinct. It asks, what if you are wrong? It erodes confidence grain by grain. Many leaders fall here, believing their doubt is truth rather than an illusion. But the seasoned strategist learns to separate instinct from insecurity. He tests his ideas again and again until doubt has no place left to hide. He sharpens his reasoning until it becomes unshakable, and when the moment of crisis arrives, he trusts that instinct completely. The internal war with doubt grants him a lethal gift, certainty, and certainty on a battlefield is more powerful than the sharpest spear. But the greatest foe of all is hesitation. Hesitation kills not with force, but with time. A moment lost is a victory surrendered. A second of indecision can turn triumph into disaster. The leader who has not mastered his inner world hesitates because he guesses his own thoughts. But the one who has defeated hesitation moves like the embodiment of purpose itself. His decisions strike like lightning, because he has already explored every possibility in the quiet hours before dawn. His soldiers move with confidence because they feel his certainty guiding them. His enemies crumble because they realize they are fighting a commander who never pauses, never questions himself, never retreats. Not in mind, not in spirit. Once he wins these inner battles, the external war becomes almost inevitable. The enemy standing before him may possess weapons, numbers, or even courage, but they cannot match a man who has defeated the enemies inside himself. Such a commander stands unshakable. His voice carries the weight of focus. His presence calms the storm around him. His every action is deliberate, sharp, and unstoppable. He does not merely control the battlefield. He dominates it because he dominates himself. And that is why, when he finally charges into war, he is already victorious. For no army, no matter how mighty, can overcome a leader whose inner world has already chosen triumph long before the first battle cry pierces the air. When we look back at the great conquerors of history, it becomes clear that their victories were never accidents. They were not the result of luck, or numbers, or brute force. They were the result of discipline, discipline over the mind. Before they ever stepped onto the battlefield, they had already fought the war within themselves. They had shattered fear, crushed doubt, and silenced hesitation. They turned clarity into a weapon, calmness into armor, and preparation into absolute dominance. And that is why, when the world witnessed their triumphs, those triumphs felt inevitable. The armies they commanded did not follow them because of their titles, but because of their certainty. They followed a leader who had already seen the ending long before the story began. This is the lesson we inherit today, not as soldiers of an ancient age, but as warriors of our own battles. Whether our struggle lies in ambition, discipline, dreams, or destiny, the principle remains the same. Win the war in your mind, and the world has no choice but to follow. Every challenge becomes smaller. Every obstacle becomes clearer. Every fear becomes powerless. Victory always begins within. Thank you for listening, for learning, and for stepping onto this journey of mastering the mind. Your time, your focus, and your willingness to grow make all the difference. If this message inspired you, if it stirred something within you, then carry it forward, not by remembering it, but by living it. Share it, apply it, and become the commander of your own battlefield. And now, the call to action. Rise with purpose, prepare with discipline, conquer with clarity, and let the world witness the victories you've already won in your mind.